This is the first fight on the main card of UFC 283. We've got light heavyweights Paul Craig and Johnny Walker. The prediction right here is going to be, for me, is going to be Paul Craig. Not sure how, probably by submission though.
Unanimous here too. I think Paul Craig is just a better fighter. Just more well-rounded. Walker's more fun to watch. But I think Paul Craig is just going to manhandle and just do what he wants with him. Probably knockout. I like a knockout here.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, we were talking about this. Johnny Walker's chin is suspect.
Very much so.
Right.
That Jamahal Hill fight?
Yeah.
Like he laid down like a piece of lumber?
2 fights ago, he fought Jamahal Hill, who's currently fighting against Glover Teixeira for the title in this
card.
On this card. And 2 fights ago, Jamahal Hill knocked out Johnny Walker.
Yes, he did. It was actually kind of a fun fight to watch.
Can you describe that knockout? It was a different type of a knockout. It was something where it's memorable. It was memorable.
Like, there are some knockouts where the body stiffens up when they hit the ground. But when Johnny Walker got hit on that particular punch, he stiffened up before he even hit the ground. So it was like stiffened up like a piece of lumber, like I was saying before. And when he hit the ground, he was just like totally stiff, like a piece of lumber, like I was saying before.
Right. I mean, in this fight against Paul Craig, I mean, Johnny Walker, like he has over most people, he's got the height and reach advantage. He's got a 6-inch reach advantage. He's younger. He's a knockout artist.
Not afraid to throw it all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, the thing is that he throws wild. He's a wild guy in there, and you know, it's exactly what kind of gets him in trouble, and it's what's gotten knocked out early against some pretty good level fighters. It's not like he gets knocked out, by just anybody. But he's been getting knocked out by people like Jamahal Hill or Corey Anderson, and it's just it's not that he gets knocked out only by good people, but it's how he gets knocked out. He's getting knocked out because he's getting a little over aggressive.
Yeah, it's not like a TKO where the judge okay, it's over now.
Yeah,
he's getting knocked out.
He gets absolutely killed.
Like the fighter just stops throwing because he's knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Johnny Walker is one of those guys who loves to put on a show for the fans. In fact, he actually at one time, it was probably 4 or 5 years ago, it was one of his first fights in the UFC, and he won by, I think, knockout. Anyways, at the end of the fight, he did the worm, the dance. He did a dance for the fans, the worm, and he actually broke by doing it. He broke his elbow or something, or his knee.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
He dislocated his shoulder, I think.
His shoulder, that's what it was. It was his shoulder, and he was out for a year or something after that. So the point is that he will do anything to entertain the fans. He's a fan-friendly fighter. Yes. Problem is that at the top levels, the guys in the top 5, top 7, he's not doing he's a little bit kind of one of those guys who's kind of winning one, losing one type of a fighter. So against a guy like Paul Craig, yes, he does have a reach and height disadvantage, but Paul Craig's very solid. And the thing is, if you look at Paul Craig's...
Experience and knowing what to do are totally different things.
Yeah, man. Paul Craig has an amazing resume, actually. It's not many people have heard of Paul Craig, but to show you a little bit about what Paul Craig, how good he really is. The guy who's fighting for the title this Saturday is Jamahal Hill, we said. This guy knocked out Jamahal Hill. It was a TKO, but it was in the first round. And it just goes to show you, he's beaten him. He's beaten Shogun, who's a legend in the sport. He's beat Magomed Ankalaev, who just fought for the title. He fought for the title a month and a half ago. So it seems like Paul Craig has wins over guys who are either going to be champion or super top tier, who are in the top 4, top 5. So it just gives you a very good understanding that Paul Craig does great against top tier fighters, and
rise to the level you're fighting.
And Johnny Walker gets knocked out by people who are top tier or even not even top tier, just the tier before that. People who are in the top 7.
He's a UFC fighter
as well.
But I think Paul Craig is just a better fighter.
So Craig is a better fighter. Craig has got solid defense while he's going forward, whereas Johnny Walker keeps himself open to the knockout, and so it'll It'll be one of those fights, man, where it's Paul Craig is super solid, super technical, and Walker is wild and pleases the fans, but Craig will get it done, we're thinking. And Craig is also plus 170, meaning you can make almost 2-1 on your money. So you put 100, you make actually $170. It's really great money. So that's who our pick is. It's Paul Craig.
Paul Craig for the win.
Paul Craig for the win, guys.
Next fight we have Lauren Murphy versus Jessica Andrade. My prediction for this fight is going to be Jessica Andrade. I'm going to say by some sort of finish. Like in the distance.
Yeah, me too. I'm going with Jessica Andrade. She is
39 years old. She's 5'5".
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Andrade is 31. Mm-hmm. And she's 5'1". And the reach is, what is that?
62-inch reach for Andrade, and Murphy has a 67-inch reach, so Murphy does have the
quite a bit of difference there. Yeah.
Reach advantage. Andrade is the big favorite though, because one crazy stat is I've never seen this stat, but significant strikes per minute for Andrade is 6 significant strikes per minute, whereas
Isn't that crazy?
Murphy is pretty high too, 3.8. That's pretty high. That's really high.
Still pretty high.
But 6 is insane. 6 significant strikes. I mean, and when she throws, bro, you gotta tell us how Andrade throws those big power punches.
She just throws with like everything she has.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
she leaps in, right?
She goes in like a bowling ball.
I mean, it's amazing. She is a pretty heavy favorite, but if you can get her by finish, it's probably cheaper. And the thing is that Lauren Murphy won her last fight versus Miesha Tate, who's a former champion. So, Lauren Murphy is definitely a pretty good fighter, but Miesha's also older, and Miesha was, had a baby and came back after a few years. So she wasn't the same. But
Lauren Murphy is tough as nails. So. Yeah. There's nothing to scoff at.
Nothing to scoff at. She got. I mean, on paper, she's got a good record. She's like 6-1 in her last fights, and her only loss in her last 7 fights was against the champion Shevchenko, who's super dominant.
Yeah, and she went far in that fight too.
Mm-hmm. So she actually has a pretty damn good record. She has a really good record. But the thing is that Andrade, literally, like, anyone who is in the top tier, she can finish them. She's finished Cynthia Calvillo, who was at one time a real contender. She KO'd her in the first. KO'd Caitlin Chukagian, who is basically impossible to KO. The only person
she's one of the best.
She's very tall and lanky. Really hard to
kickboxers.
She throws so many punches and kicks that it's just hard to get near her, and she's got really long legs. And somehow Andrade finished her.
When you can finish people like she does, yeah, it's gonna be tough.
So she's finished Rose Namajunas, who was the dominant champ, every time she has a fight with Rose, she had a rematch and it was close again. So and everyone knows Rose, how great she is. So It's one of those things where Andrade is basically the champion or the number 1 or 2 fighter, and the other Murphy is a person who's maybe number 6 or 8. And the thing is that again, like,
she might be on her way out.
Yeah, again, she's beating a lot of people who were good 5 years ago.
When you think of Lauren Murphy, you don't think of champion.
She hasn't beat.
There's a reason why she's in the UFC, is because she is tough as nails. Yeah. She has that schoolyard bully, like mafia muscle, like give me your lunch money type fighting style.
Yeah. The problem
she went to war with Valentina, and she just keeps winning. Mm-hmm. But when he comes to the top tier, like, it's a different, like, a tier of fighting. So.
Yeah, I mean, she did last until the 4th round against the current champion Shevchenko at 125 pounds, but it was one-sided, right?
Very correct.
Yeah, so I mean, she can take a lot of punishments. That's the one thing about it might be tough for Andrade to get the finish. At the same time, Shevchenko doesn't have the power that Andrade has. Nobody has the power that Andrade has at this weight class.
I'm saying Andrade, if she keeps winning the way she's winning, she's gonna have another title fight.
There you go.
Valentina.
And
so
I agree. She's dangerous, super dangerous.
In this fight, because she has a motivation like that, I think that's Andrade all the way.
So we think it's actually going to be a very easy win for Andrade. Pick is Jessica Andrade, probably by some sort of finish.
In the distance.
This next fight is a welterweight matchup between Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. The pick is Gilbert Burns.
Gilbert Burns all the way.
So we're both picking Gilbert Burns. thing is, though, he's going up against Neil Magny, and you probably might not have heard of Neil Magny, but Neil Magny...
Gatekeeper.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who he's fought former champions like Robbie Lawler, beating Johnny Hendricks, another former champion, and he's got a 9-inch reach advantage over Gilbert Burns.
80-inch.
He's got 80-inch reach, and Gilbert Burns has a 71-inch reach. And so keep in mind this is a 170-pound matchup, and an 80-inch reach at 170 is I'm pretty sure it's the longest reach in that division. So the problem is that what Magny does to guys who are shorter like Gilbert Burns and like Johnny Hendricks and guys like that who are power puncher, stocky guys, short stocky guys, is that he uses that range with his really long jab, and then he can do some front kicks. He can kick your legs with super long legs, kind of like Dalsim from Street Fighter. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Indian guy who
the
long punches with his arms and legs across the screen. That's what Magny basically does. Like, you can't get close to him, and then if you do get close to him, he kind of just backs up, or he'll just clinch you and go get you against the cage, and then he makes your night just really long. Rough. It's really rough. So that's the problem, and that's the one reason why I would not want to actually put money on Burns in this fight, and it's a situation that I would want to see the first round to see if Magny can really take Burns down and really control him against the cage and use that leg reach and arm reach against Burns. And if he can, then possibly live bet a little bit of maybe something on Magny, because he's just cheap. He's you make good money on him. And then Burns, if he can survive that first round without just getting swarmed, if Burns, and if Magny also, if let's just say that Magny, it's a close round and Magny maybe steals it, then Burns becomes cheaper in the second round. So it's a great live bet scenario. And I last week, guys, I was betting on DraftKings, and normally with live betting, you can only bet once the round is finished. So you can't bet during the round. But guess what? Last week in the Strickland versus Imavov fight, I was able to all the fights, at least on the main card. It was betting throughout all the rounds. So it was amazing, man. Like, you can totally see who's doing better, and then you can get good.
Pay attention to the fights, and you'll be able to do things here.
For sure, man. Yeah. Live bet is definitely the way to go, and it's just a little bit of a kind of weird style matchup with Neil having those long arms and legs. So
Gilbert Burns' talent is
still picking
this fight.
Yeah, Magny's one of those guys who's never really broken into the top 5, never probably will, just because he doesn't have much power. But Burns is one of those guys, man. He had a great fight against Khamzat Chimaev. And, a really good fight against Usman, who was the former champion. So, he dominant champion, and Burns looked great. So, Burns on another level. So, the pick is Burns, but just be careful about actually putting a bet on.
Next fight we have Brandon Moreno versus Figgy. In the co-main event of the UFC 283, my prediction is Brandon Moreno.
And my prediction is actually going to be Davison Figueiredo, Figgy.
The reason I'm picking Moreno is every time he doesn't fight Figgy, he's putting people out. Submission or KO or easy decision, like unanimous. That's the reason I'm picking it. And I just think he's going to be able to outlast and or knock him out.
It's a great pick. I mean, it's hard to argue, because the thing is that, these two fighters, they're fighting for the 125-pound championship.
And whoever wins this fight is going to be the champ.
This is it.
There's not going to be a fifth fight.
There's not. They're fought 3 times before.
Quadrilogy.
Yeah, man. The first fight was a draw, and that's when Figgy was champ, and so Figgy kept the belt. Then the second fight, the rematch, Moreno actually submitted. He knocked down Figgy and then submitted Figgy. That was a great
fight.
So Moreno won that one.
Great fight.
And then the third fight, they rematched again with a trilogy, and Figueiredo, did well in that fight and won by decision. It was a pretty close fight.
Close fight.
And then here we go again. Davison, that was Davison Figueiredo's last fight. That was Figgy's last fight. Was his trilogy fight with Moreno.
He held on to the belt.
And held on to the belt. And Moreno actually fought one other time since then against Kai Kara-France. And Kai Kara-France was streaking, man. He was doing great, going on a win streak. And he finished him with a body kick in the third.
That was brilliant.
It was an impressive body kick. Moreno's from Mexico.
Yes.
And, Mexicans in boxing and UFC, they're known for their aggression. And when Moreno wants to turn the aggression on, that's why he has
sees an opening, just goes.
Bro, he's one of those guys who's got the amazing, aggressive Mexican legendary style, and they just come forward, and you can't stop him. You know what I mean? And he's got those finishes.
A way to stop him, and a lot of people can't.
It's really tough to stop him. And he's so aggressive. He's a come-forward fighter. He usually is the guy who's controlling the octagon in these last 3 fights against Figgy. Moreno's actually been in the center of the octagon pushing Figgy back. Figgy just happens to be a really good sniper, counterattack fighter.
Very good.
It kind of, that's why it's kind of a phenomenal matchup, and that's probably why we're seeing a 4th fight here, man.
It's like the same fighter. We were looking
it's a mirror image. It's a mirror image. Basically, they're like the same stats, almost same significant strikes. Moreno's got a slight 2-inch reach advantage.
It's like brothers fighting each other.
But it's like brothers. It's like Moreno likes to go forward, and then Figgy likes to counter, and it's just one of those fights where who's gonna be more clean in the strikes, who's gonna land a little bit more, and that's gonna eke out who wins the decision. The reason I'm going with Figueiredo is basically. Davison Figueiredo, he won the belt from Joseph Benavidez, or it was a vacant belt because I think Cejudo moved up. Yeah, Henry Cejudo, who's the champ. He's got belts at 25 and 35, and so he moved up to 135, and so Figueiredo had to fight a long-time contender in Joseph Benavidez, and he KO'd him in the first fight, then he submitted him in the second fight, and so
was that the same year?
Yeah, it was in the same year. It was like within 6 months in 2020, and and then on top of that, he's dominant, man. He submits a lot of guys. He KOs a lot of guys who are top guys. There's
not one way that he wins.
No, he can submit you. He can counter strike you and really hurt you. And I'll be honest, this is the one thing, right? This is the one reason. This is the one major reason why I'm picking Figueiredo. So. In their third fight, the first fight was a very close fight. Brandon Moreno took it on short notice, and it was a close fight, and it ended up in a draw. Second fight, Moreno actually knocked Figgy down and then submitted Figgy. So Moreno got the belt. So that's the only finish that happened in this trilogy. And then the third fight was a close fight. But in that close fight, that was close on the scorecards. The thing is that Figueiredo actually knocked down Moreno twice in that fight, actually. They were flash knockdowns, but still, it's a knockdown. And so, my point is that in the third fight, the first fight can be close between two fighters. Second fight, yeah, Moreno had his way, but he kind of connected. And I heard that Figueiredo had a bad weight cut, but no excuses. Moreno got the finish, but I even bet Moreno in the third fight. But Figueiredo did a good job in the fight, and Figueiredo did earn the victory. And then I rewatched the fight this week.
Never let it go to the judges.
Yeah, and the thing is that Figueiredo got the takedown in the first round, so he cinched the first round. He also leg kicked Moreno and actually flash knocked down Moreno from a leg kick. And then I think it was either in the third or fourth or third and fourth, he got a knockdown with some overhand. So my point is that Figueiredo in the third fight is now figuring out Moreno somehow. Usually it's the guy who wins the second fight who usually wins the third. It has been the statistics in the UFC. In a trilogy, if you win the second fight, then you usually win the third fight. But this was the opposite, and the reason is because Figueiredo mixed in the wrestling. He got the timing with the overhand punches and dropped Moreno. On top of that, Figueiredo started training with Henry Cejudo, who we just told you moved up from 125 to 135, and Cejudo's a phenomenal coach. He's now coached his former rival, Demetrius Johnson. He's coaching John Jones right now for John Jones's move up to heavyweight versus Cyril Gane. So my point is that Henry Cejudo really helps fighters. He's got an elite level of just understanding, expertise about like strategy, and just knows exactly how to just
especially against
beat certain types of fighters. Yeah, these types of fighters. Henry Cejudo has beaten all these types of top level fighters at 125 and 135. He's knocked out Dominic Cruz at 135. So when Figueiredo, someone like that, who's raw talent, who can really has power, who can snipe, who can, counter, and who can, really hurt you with power punches, and he's got easy power, it looks very loose with it, very, very great athlete,
Doesn't even look like he's punching that.
Doesn't look like he's trying, and you can see the confidence. He's got a red stripe on his head, like it's like a bloodline on his head or something. I mean, he's an absolute
Predator.
He's truly a murderer from like a movie like The Predator. He really is. you know, I mean, he would be like the Arnold Schwarzenegger of Brazil or something like that. You know, he does have that sort of aura. And he's got the hyper competitiveness. Moreno's more of a nice guy, happy go lucky, which this is why we all love him. But Figueiredo, you know, he gives Moreno the credit when he finished Figgy in the second fight. Figgy, you know, carried him up and all that. And then, you know, that night or that week he was going back to talking trash. You know why? It's because Figueiredo's an absolute hyper competitive killer. And Moreno's a happy-go-lucky.
So he's a professional.
He's a professional, and Moreno's a little bit more of like
Go ahead.
Moreno's happy-go-lucky and stuff like that. But the thing is that, you know, in a trilogy that is very close, where it's like either way, and now it's the fourth fight. I mean, that's another reason I want to go with the guy who's more hyper-competitive, who's more killer instinct, and that is, even though Moreno does get finishes. Moreno, he got the finish against Kai Kara France in his last fight. That's true. But he really had to go forward a lot to do it. And he actually got his right cheek busted up against Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France was actually winning that third round. And then, you know, the body kick landed and Moreno ended up winning. But the point is that if Moreno does that against a sniper, a counter striker, a sniper like Figueiredo, you're not just going to get a bloody cheek. You can get knocked down and you can really get hurt and possibly submitted. So these are the reasons why I'm just thinking I'm going with Figueiredo.
I don't blame you.
It's a really close fight, guys. But I think it's another phenomenal chance, guys, to live bet. Because depending on how it goes in the first round,
you bet the other fighter.
Bro, both guys hit with power. Both guys. I mean, I would say Moreno throws more strikes, and that's why he's a great pick. And then you look at Figueiredo, and he likes to sit back and snipe and counterattack, and that's why he's a good pick. You know, and he's knocked down Moreno twice in their third fight. So this either pick is great, guys. But the thing is that whoever you pick, when you go ahead and see the fight in the first round, that's why it's worth it to go ahead and just buy the pay-per-view, because then you can go ahead and see the first round, and you can go ahead and live bet maybe on the other guy, or maybe you see your guy get a better price in the second round. There's so many reasons. Now
one guy.
Yeah, I'm not promoting DraftKings, but this is amazing.
Throwing a lot more punches, and the other guy just waiting.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who's throwing, you should throw a bet on the guy.
Yeah, if you see Moreno just fucking flawless in the first round, not taking any punishment and just reading everything, all of Figueiredo's punches, sprawling and just head movement perfect and just lighting up. Let's say the jab is just working and Figueiredo's just getting lit up. Then bet the money on Moreno. Yeah. I would then switch my pick because it's a very close fight, and a live bet is actually a perfect bet. But I will put a little bit of money, you know, on Figueiredo. You know,
I think this is gonna go the distance.
But I think this is a phenomenal fight because each round is so close. If you can just pay attention and just look for who is using their head movement better, that is going to be the difference in the long distance game, because it's probably going to go to decision. So if you can figure out who has a slightly better head movement and you can just see who's making the better reads, who's doing those little quick fidgety movements and getting their head out of the way and also striking, you figure that out, man, and you can get a great live bet on whichever fighter. They're both absolute champions, so
beast of a fight, gonna be great.
Phenomenal fight. It's gonna be great, guys. All right, guys, this last fight on the card, this is the main event. It is for the 205-pound belt, the championship fight, light heavyweight. It's between Jamahal Hill and Glover Teixeira, and my pick is going to be Jamahal Hill.
That is correct. Jamahal Hill all the way.
Yeah, we're totally agreement on this one. You know, it's a pick'em fight, so it's 50-50 in the odds makers' eyes.
Like, somebody's getting knocked out or submitted in this fight.
Yeah, Glover is 43 years old, and so he's the old vet. He's got the.
I don't think you can not talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Glover, just became champ. He beat Jan Blachowicz and by submission. So Glover definitely can submit Jamahal Hill, no doubt, and get him on the ground. But Jamal's been very scrambly. He was scrambly against Thiago Santos when Thiago was trying to take down Jamahal Hill and controlled him against the cage. But Jamal was able to scramble. He's a lot better than what he was 2 years ago, how he got beaten by Paul Craig inside the triangle in grappling on the ground, and Jamahal Hill kind of got trapped there and got elbowed and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it was basically he got lost to grappling. But now he's improved that quite a bit to the point where he can stand up pretty easily, actually, now. He scrambles right away, and he doesn't just give up right on the ground. A lot of people, a lot of strikers, they kind of just stop trying to get up, and they just lose that energy because...
If you watch that Santos fight,
yeah,
Santos was able to get him down, but it was a struggle for him, and when he did get him down, he was able to get back up. But Glover is a different type of... He's a bulldog. Like, he holds on. He just does what he wants.
Glover can hold on. He lost the belt, though. He got the belt from Jan Blachowicz, and then he lost the belt in the next fight versus Yuri Prochazka, who is a striker. And the weird thing is that Yuri Prochazka actually beat Glover by submission. So
yes.
that's why me and Lousy here think that Glover doesn't have the ground game that he used to have
because now of his
age. He's 43, so his
just breaks down.
Yeah, your body breaks down. He wants to do something, but his body won't do what his
reaction
brain,
time
yeah.
just slows down, and you need.
Yeah,
we're talking about high level fighting here. You need reaction time. You need to counter and to react to certain situations. And I don't think at 43 he's just gonna have it. I think Jamahal Hill's is gonna finish him.
Glover should have had his way with Yuri in the last round, and he had his. He was gonna retain his belt. I mean, this is for the vacant belt. Sorry, because this was for the. Glover had the belt and he fought Yuri, right? That's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah, so Glover had the fight won.
Because
he
won it against Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, and then he lost it to Yuri, right.
Yeah.
So in this fight against Yuri, Glover should have won it. He was about to win. He was winning on the feet even. He was striking Yuri and he was winning.
It's very surprising.
But then he decided to go for the takedown because, he knows Yuri's a dangerous wild fighter, so he took him down. And then what happened was, because he's 43 years old, it showed his age showed. And that's the reason why me and Lousy don't think Glover has a real good chance, really, to submit Jamahal or even keep Jamahal down in this fight.
Especially early, there's no way.
Yeah, so...
And once he starts to slow down, I think Jamahal Hill's just going to piece him.
So the next thing to talk about is then the stand-up. If Glover can't submit Jamahal, then of course it's going to be a stand-up contest. The thing is this. In the fight, Glover's last fight, in that championship fight where he lost barely to Yuri, in the stand-up, he's got that high guard where his arms are kind of covering with his elbows high. And
his fist facing him.
He's great, and he rocks left and right, so it's really hard to it's the peekaboo boxing from Mike Tyson.
Straight up counter.
Yeah, that Mike Tyson's coach invented, and so it does work. It's a great defense. While he's going for some big hooks and things like Mike Tyson used to do. But thing is that it's susceptible to the jab. And so Yuri, who's more of a wild fighter in their championship fight, Yuri was not landing too many different types of punches. His kicks were landing, and then his straight jab down the pipe, down the center was working, because when Glover is covering up on the side and doing the little rock left and right like that, it leaves the center open once in a while for Yuri to place a jab. But Yuri just doesn't throw the jab too much because he's a wild fighter. He likes to throw spinning elbows and jumping knees and all that type of stuff. However, Jamahal doesn't throw jumping knees or spinning back fists. Jamahal is a very orthodox fighter, meaning he does have power, but he's a little bit like Conor McGregor, where he's more of a lanky fighter, has the power, fast punches, but he doesn't knock you out with just one punch. Well, he didn't. He can knock you out with one. He can knock you out with one punch, but normally, like against Thiago Santos, for instance, it was punches over a period of time that were just clean connections, very much accurate striking.
And just slowed him down, and he was able to get him on there.
And on top of that, what he has that Yuri didn't have, Yuri Prochazka didn't have as much, is the jab. Jamahal Hill has a great jab, and he can use it. He sets it up. He actually does things that really good boxers would do, which is use that jab. It connects a lot because it's lightning fast, and it's the quickest punch that can get to your opponent, and you can easily change the angle and break through the guard and things like that. So Jamahal will use that. It'll back up Glover, and then all of a sudden it opens up body punches. It opens up leg kicks. It opens up a lot of things, uppercuts, things like that, when Jamahal will see the opening. So that's why we're thinking they might last 4 or 5 rounds, but Jamahal can really start to pull away with that jab. So
for sure,
Glover's punches. He's starting to load up a lot more than he used to. When he was younger, like in his late 30s,
he was very predictable.
He's super predictable now, and he used to be.
Especially with those when he tries to get some big
those winging shots.
Yes,
it's like when he wings the shots, he used to be able to wing it from nowhere, and now it
looked like a jab when he's throwing a hook.
Yeah, you can see it coming. You can see him. He's hesitating a little bit more because he's getting older, so he's not as confident in his strikes. So you can actually read his punches quite easily, I would say, and that's why he didn't have that much success on the feet until late in the fight against Yuri. And that's why we're thinking that, man, if you have those reactions where you're stuttering, hesitating against a guy like Jamahal will read your punches easily.
He'll get you out of there quick.
Yeah, Jamahal had a really interesting comment where they asked what Jamal's best weapon was, and Jamahal said it was his mind. And that's all someone has to say for me to be scared scared to hell of this guy. Because this guy literally said, I wish I could take you guys into my mind. Because if you saw what I saw, I'm able to see things so much quicker than other people. I react quicker than people. In my mind, I'm seeing so many things. And Jamahal kind of makes it look simple, but he makes it look easy. But I think he is calculating on a different level, and that's why he's able to land so accurately. The guys who land accurately, their minds are just quick.
Yes.
You know?
Especially against a fighter like Glover,
yeah.
And he knows what he's gonna do. Mm-hmm. You have to just have to read and adapt like very, very quick. And
right.
He's just gonna be great. It's gonna be a great fight.
It really is the young line versus the old line, and we're going with the young line here, Jamahal Hill, and it's probably gonna be
in the distance.
It'll probably go 4 or 5 rounds, but it'll be.
You think decision? I think it's gonna be in distance. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, inside.
Yeah,
the finish might happen in the fourth, right? Fourth or something like that.
Yeah,
accumulation,
I
or even earlier,
exactly.
or even earlier.
Yeah.
And it's another great situation for a live bet because Glover, if he does take Jamahal Hill down, it might be a longer night.
Glover slow down at all.
Exactly.
At all.
Like we said with DraftKings now, at least last week, you could bet throughout the whole fight, all throughout the rounds. You could get before you actually see the damage with the bleeding and stuff like that, you could actually just see, this guy's doing more damage. This guy has better head movement. This guy's he's moving better. So, it's a great chance for a live bet on this fight, guys.
Yes.
So, yeah, we're going with Jamahal Hill, guys. Good luck with the fights tonight.
Thanks for listening.
Saturday night. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned for our parlays and locks.
Hey, guys, this is the part of the podcast where we pick our guarantee, locks, our parlay, and just for fun, I'm going to do a fight of the night. Why not? Definitely. So, here you go. My guaranteed lock is going to be Jessica Andrade versus Lauren Murphy.
Yep.
My parlay is going to be Paul Craig versus Johnny Walker. I'm picking Paul Craig. Jessica Andrade, like I said earlier. And Cody Steinman versus Luan Lacerda, who's just going to be on his debut. So it's Paul Craig, Jessica Andrade, and Cody Steinman for my parlay. Hey, what's yours?
Yeah, my lock is going to be Paul Craig. I just think he gets it done versus Johnny Walker. And then I've got my parlay is going to be Paul Craig, Jessica Andrade, and Jamahal Hill.
I mean, that's great. Those are just awesome picks.
They're just fun fighters to watch. They're pretty dominant. All of them are pretty dominant. It's like they are solid mental fighters where they don't beat themselves. They don't do dumb things. They're just really smart.
The Paul Craig, I just am so surprised that he's an underdog.
Me too.
This is just a no-brainer pick for me.
It really is. I think it's what you were talking about earlier, where Paul Craig is just not as known, and Johnny Walker has a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's a wild man who throws lots of different crazy strikes. And so people know Johnny Walker
because
and
of his personality.
His personality.
Paul Craig's a better fighter, and he's just
yeah.
going. People
People see Johnny Walker and they say, "Oh God, he can KO anybody," which he can. But the thing is that someone like Paul Craig is a seasoned fighter who's beaten great fighters over the years, including consistently, including people like Magomed Ankalaev, who just fought for the title, and he does great against great fighters. So someone like Johnny Walker, he should handle easy. So it's a great pick.
That
for
should
a lock.
be sentence over. Like he beat. What else to talk about?
I know, right? Yeah, you beat Ankalaev. Ankalaev has probably 1 or 2 losses, and one of them is this guy, Paul Craig, to this guy. So, and then Jessica Andrade. What a phenomenal, she looks so dangerous in every fight, and she's doing it almost calculated.
Fury.
She doesn't look like she's going to get knocked out, though, when she throws her heavy punches. She's just really smart when she does it. And
goes.
Smart in the way she leaps in. She's just smart, but she's still wild, but still calculated. So it's kind of like she's got champion
Jessica
written all over her, basically.
Andrade.
Yeah.
Just goes.
And then why do you like Cody Stamann for your third?
Well, he's just a top-tier wrestler.
Yeah,
and
amazing
he's fighting
wrestler.
a guy who's just on his debut. That doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just going off of he's just Probably top 5 wrestler in the UFC.
And he's a pretty fast starter, right? From what I remember, Stammen gets going early. He does not waste time. He gets right after you.
He has 1 minute knockouts for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, he's coming at you. He can wrestle you, great balance, phenomenal.
Early prelim
talent.
on the ESPN Plus, by the way.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jamahal Hill for me is kind of one of those guys where it's the young lion versus the old lion, and Jamahal is just peaking, and he's just absolutely destroying people.
The old guard is a little too old, in my opinion.
And the fun thing about Jamahal is that, like Lousy said in the earlier video, was that, Jamahal really sets things up with his jab, which is the right way to do it. And so he's just constantly hurting you. It almost feels like Street Fighter. You remember that? Remember Street Fighter back in the day where you just keep hitting them and their health bar just keeps going down, and eventually you just beat them. And that's kind of how Jamahal does it, man.
Jump
just
kick,
really
jump
smart.
Kick, jump kick.
Punch, punch, back up, kick, and it's like he just doesn't
Up
get
X.
Yeah.
Jump kick, jump kick. Leg sweep.
Exactly. Jamahal knows how to just like hurt you more than he gets hurt.
Have you seen a leg sweep in the UFC? I have never seen a leg sweep.
I would love to see it, though.
I would love to see it.
One of those little roundhouse sweeps where you turn around at the bottom and just boom, windmill kick or something.
That'd be great.
A fan kick and just sweep the ankle. Yeah, dude, like why not? That's what's fun about UFC. It's so early in the sport. It'll be fun to see people. And the crazy thing is that, and crazier things have happened because, I mean, not going too off topic here, but like people come up with inventions by reading sci-fi novels and watching sci-fi movies. Hey,
is that true?
Yeah, and just remember Anthony Pettis, going back to fighting. Anthony Pettis used to do the jump off the cage and kick you.
Yeah.
His coach Duke Rufus got those moves from a movie called Ong Bak.
No way.
Yeah. So the thing is that, dude, like all these types of moves that we talk about that we've experienced playing on like Sega and arcades,
from everywhere.
Bro, learn from everywhere because anything can happen in a fight. And so there is no style that fighting is full of. You can come up with any style you want. Any style can win at any given time.
That's right.
That's what the great Bruce Lee said, right? Bro. That's what the great Bruce Lee said, that he wanted
be like water.
He wanted to be like water. He wanted to be like water. He wanted to have a style with no style, is what he used to call. Jeet Kune Do was the philosophy, the martial arts fight style that he came up with, which meant the style with no style. So adapt to anything. Be like water.
Be like water.
So we just think that Jamahal is one of those guys, man, and he just comes up with things.
I think it's a no-brainer.
Puts things together, no-brainer. Dude, he just
mean,
hurts people a lot over a period of time, and just your health bar goes down, and he just ends up just beating your ass. Like that's what he does, man. He kicks ass. So those are our parlays and locks.
So
and
again, my guaranteed pick is Jessica Andrade. My parlay is Cody Stammen, Jessica Andrade, and Paul Craig.
And I'm going again. My parlay is Andrade, Craig, and Jamahal Hill, and my lock is Paul Craig. Like we said, he gets it done against top tier fighters. So.
Hey, one last thing.
Yeah.
If me and you got into a power slap competition, who would win? It's like, do I get to use the backhand? Can I backhand it? You can
backhand the slap.
I'll let you backhand.
Backhand slap's a different story. Front hand slap, I would say you all day, but backhand slap, just because that's my nickname, is the backhand.
I don't think I have a shot in the backhand.
So wait, one more thing though is that you were gonna say what was, in your opinion, what was gonna be fight of the night for you? What's the most interesting fun fight for you to watch?
Most interesting fun fight.
What are you excited for?
For me, is definitely the Moreno Figgy fight.
Yeah, me too, man.
It's gonna be a closeout. Like it's gonna close because they're not gonna fight again.
They're never gonna fight
so
again.
Interested in that fight. Like there's nobody. It's those two fighters, and then there's everybody else.
It really does feel like that because when Henry Cejudo, who's the former champion there, moved up to 135, the 125-pound title became vacant. Figgy got it. Figueiredo got the title. Then Moreno got it from him. Then Figueiredo got it back. And
it's hopscotch, bro.
It's just these two at the top now.
Double Dutch, in, out, in, out.
And it's just one of those fights where it's a great clash of styles where it's just like both of them are strikers. None of them like to wrestle. They'll wrestle here and there, but it's really just two strikers, and one of them goes forward Mexican style, which is the legendary aggressive Mexican style, versus the sniper, Brazilian, who's, probably grown up watching Anderson Silva and just has phenomenal counters.
No nonsense Brazilian.
Yeah, it's just so fun.
I'm really interested in that fight.
It's a super fun fight. Either of them can knock each other down and have done so. So we've seen the proof.
Yeah.
And it's really one of those fights where like you go, it has to be a barn burner. It has to be, because we've seen it before and it has been.
Yeah.
So it has to be again, and it's just like, who's gonna get knocked down and get put out this time? Who's actually gonna get finished? Because they're going for the throats this time. This is the last fight, like Lazzy said, that they're ever gonna have. They'll never do a fifth. So this is an incredible fight. And
do you have one?
Just gonna enjoy it.
No,
I'm going. This is my fight night, dude. I think it's Friday night. I think it's the most exciting one.
It's the most exciting fight.
I mean, obviously, Jamahal Hill versus Glover Teixeira is super exciting too. But like we said, we really do feel Jamahal. This one,
Moreno.
This one I love also because you picked Moreno, I picked Figueiredo. So it's just kind of like, it's so fun because it's like, man, there's a great argument on both sides to pick either fighter. So it's like, it's just like, what's gonna happen, man?
Yeah.
What's gonna happen, bro? So. Tune in, guys, to
Thanks
UFC
for
283.
listening, everybody.
UFC 283,
Win
guys.
some
Don't
money.
miss it.
Be responsible. Have fun.